Hello guys, still Win Cards here with another video, and this time let's talk a bit about the market and the options that you have with the recent surge with Prismatic evolutions. And here I have the moonbreon, as you can see, very expensive card right out of the gate. And you would be paying around this to have this particular card. So, is it feasible to pay something like this for just a card? I will tell you what. I do think that the card holds some value, and if you are a collector, for sure you want to have this card in your collection. Me personally, I wouldn't pay to have this card. I either pull it by some random luck, and I don't open many packs. I don't think that it is feasible to get specific cards that way. I either trade it, let's say for sealed product, for other singles or something like that, or I can sell some of the singles that I have in excess to build some capital to get that card. So in a sense, I'm working to scale up to get the card. Right now, I do think that these cards will get even more expensive. But if you want to have this card because you like the art, you can always go for Japanese. And this is one of the main points in this video. One thing that I also want to have in perspective is that some people working every month, almost every day, except for a day off, they won't get this much per month. So that's how ridiculous these prices can be. And it's part of the hobby. Certain cards will have this kind of value. And okay, it's part of the hobby. But that's one of the reasons that I won't pay from my money, because I also work a full-time job. I would have to work a lot to get to just save some money to have one specific card. And I do think that it's not about fairness, because we can't decide the price of the card. It's just something that the market does. I do see value as a collector in the card, but I don't think it's the right thing for me in particular to do it. So what are the other options? If you are in the same situation as me, if you think the same way, what are the other options? For example, Japanese. So the same card, the same art, it has different letters, we can put it that way. Sometimes I would say that the cards in Japanese have better quality, not as many problems with the borders being uneven, for example, and the cards do look really clean. And for a fraction of the price, you can get one. Either way, I do consider this expensive as well. So let's think in another way. Imagine that you really want moonbreon, and this one is too expensive. You can go for Japanese. Japanese is still expensive. What can you do? you can search for other options. Let's see here. From Brilliant Stars, for example, you have these two ones. Still amazing. And you can have it for this price, for example. Do you see the difference? It's the same Pokemon. Okay, the art is different, it's not at the same level, but yeah, it's a good card. This one for me is even better. And you can have it as cheap as this. So why not? Why not starting there? And maybe in a few months this card is worth a little bit more. You can sell it and you can move to this one, and then you wait a little bit and this one is worth a little bit more and you can sell it. You can grade it as well. If you think it's a very clean card, you can grade it and it will jump in price, and you can sell and work your way to this one or to this one. Also, if you just love the art, if you just love the Pokemon in particular, you can go, for example, imagine Jolteon. If you want to have a card of Jolteon, let's say for Brilliant Stars Trainer Gallery, you can have one for €5. A little bit more with shipping, but for less than €10. It's a good card. Even better than this one, in my opinion. You have Vaporeon, for example. I do think it's a really cool card. It even has Gary in it. And for like what, €7 to €8 you can have this card. Or, as I mentioned before, not this one, you can have the one from Terrestrial Festival. The pulls are better for this set in Japanese, so the cost effectiveness of this set is way better than Prismatic Evolutions. But let's see, let's say that you want this Vaporeon. Okay, you can get it for like €65 plus shipping. How about the English version? And I do think this card is good, but for example, I would prefer this one. Honestly. But that's the personal preference. Let's say that you want the English cards. Yeah. That's how much you have to pay to get this card. And it's okay for the cards to be this expensive. It's okay, it's part of the game. But what I'm trying to say is that you have options. Don't narrow your focus to something that's right in front of you, and try to expand your vision and delve deep into the hobby and to the options that you might have if you look deep down. So I will give other examples. Let me just try to move this around. So here, Slowpoke. I mentioned this one in my past video. For €29 you can get this card plus shipping. It's a cool card, Gen 1 Pokemon. What about Japanese? Wow. For a fraction of the price you can have this card. And also the sets usually are cheaper as well. If you buy a booster box, the hit rates are better, the cards to complete collections are better. If you want to get a PSA 10, they will tend to be cheaper. I don't know if we can find one here, but let's check. PSA 10, so like, yeah, 40 euros, or maybe a little bit less. Yeah, plus shipping, it might be 40 euros. You can get a PSA 10 for this card. So, as a collector, you always have this choice. If you want to keep your investments for your collection in the English version, I understand. I do that to some degree. I do that as well. And what I try to do is I try to leverage the other parts of my collection or the things that I buy to get more funds to scale to the point where I can get those cards without putting my own money in it. And that's my point. And across the board, you will have cheaper versions in Japanese. For example, Miss Magius jumped in price. You have one here, 5 euros. And in English, you would pay around 20. So I do think that this is very clear, and people are noticing that as well, because as you see these cards jumping in price, you will see the Japanese ones jumping in price as well, but not to the extent of the English ones. So there is chance in collecting Japanese cards. The sets are also smaller, so you will feel the sense of accomplishment way faster. For example, to complete a set in English, it takes 2 sets in Japanese. And it's easier and cheaper to complete the sets in Japanese. So, to save money, and if you are just a fan of the cards, go for Japanese. If you are a fan of the arts and you want to complete the sets, go for Japanese. That's my honest advice. If you really want to get these very expensive cards, I would say that you have to wait a little bit, and I would say that you have to work your way there. So, even for this one that is very expensive, maybe you can start with the Japanese version of this one. Maybe you can just pay like 70 euros for this one. Maybe you can grade and it is worth a little bit more. I don't know if we can find one here. Let me check. Yeah, you grade it and it's worth a little bit more. More than double. And the ones that we see here are not PSA even. And maybe you can use that as a leverage to trade for this one. And then maybe you can grade this one. Let's see. Mint. Yeah. And if you grade this one with this type of value, you are one step closer of getting this one. That for a PSA 10 people are asking something like this is very absurd that no one is paying that, at least for now. But yeah, you are one step closer of getting this card, and here you can see that it is feasible to collect in other languages, although I do think that that is more specific for it depends on your nationality or on your spoken language. I'm Portuguese. I wouldn't go for the Portuguese cards. I really don't like the translation, and it's up to you. But there are, don't get mad with these prices. This is perfectly normal. It's part of the hobby. There are cards that are worth this and more. And to get there, you just have to work your way up. And with this video, I hope that I shone a light on the options that you have. You can collect Japanese. You can even collect Korean, for example. They are even cheaper. And you can work your way up to where you want to be. So that's my honest advice. I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you next time. Bye bye.